All right, thank you very much, Dr. David Muge. Good to see you and good talking to us. Perhaps we begin with your early childhood. But can you tell me, where did you grow up? What kind of a person did you were when you were growing up?
Okay. James, thank you very much for having me in the interview. My childhood actually started in Nandi, because that's where I was born. But we soon went, when I was around 3-4 years, moved to Tanzania. That is the time when the white settlers were moving out of the farm. My parents bought land there, and that's where I actually grew up, in Tanzania.
How did you leave the UK?
I think working in the UK as a veterinarian is really intensive. I think after 15 years of doing probably 8 in the morning all the way to very late, you decide, I think I've reached the end of my career as a veterinarian.
I see.
Let me start something else. And naturally, the best thing for me was to come home, because I had already invested at home during those, when I was working as a veterinarian. I bought land, I bought property here, I had a house, I had everything. So I thought, let me go home and see what I can do to help the country. And I grew up as a farmer in Kitale, and we still had the farm in Kitale. We had expanded to Eldoret and some in Nandi. I came back with a view of doing coffee, because when I was in the UK and traveling around, you keep hearing about Kenya coffee, the horticulture here, particularly the Kenya coffee. And at that time, the market was going down. The Kenya coffee coffee production was going down. And I knew it was a kind of something which actually the country can benefit, and I can benefit as an individual, because being a veterinarian who is basically towards the farming and also growing up as a farmer, I would naturally fit into it. The reason why I chose the coffee industry is lucrative. It brings money to the country and also to me as a person. I had the best, I already had a head start because I had land, which was substantial, big by all standards.
How much are you talking about here?
I think it was 100, it's gone to 350, and now we are making it 800 acres. Half of it will be coffee, the other half will be macadamia. Okay. And I'll come to macadamia later on. Yes. So I planted the coffee with the money I got from the UK. Somebody might say it is expensive, but if you look at the amount of money you spend and what you get from the UK as a veterinarian, it is something which is affordable. Yeah. So we did the coffee, and we did not want to, I said the factory, the milling factory. So we planted the coffee. I think I also did, you learn on the thing. When I came back, I had money, so I opened a milling factory. But actually, looking back now, I should have used that money to do the farm first, and then do the milling.
What was the thinking behind the milling?
The thing behind the milling was, I wanted to mill the local mill, the local coffee, right. Because there was none around Eldoret, Nandi, Trans-Nzoia, Kericho, all the way up to North Rift, basically. There was no proper milling factory, which was locally owned and proactive. So I thought I would mop up all this coffee. I did not take time to look at the coffee industry. I think having grown up here and gone to the UK where everybody is honest, I assumed everybody here would default into being honest. It was a rude awakening for me, I must say. So it took me aback, and I told myself there was no need to have this milling coffee. I should have done my own estate first. But nevertheless,
why did it work? Why did it work?
It didn't work because when I came here, I spoke to the industry and the other. I thought, let me do what
the solution is, to solve the problem.
Yes, because you'd find farmers, as the cooperatives are telling us, oh, we don't get a good price, we get cheated, all that. These cooperatives came from Bungoma. quite a few of them. And I wrote a check, 2 million, 1 point something million, and gave it to them, with a view of them bringing me the coffee to mill when the coffee is ready. Yeah. When the coffee was ready, we wrote a contract. When the coffee was ready, they took them to a mill in Central and here in Nairobi. So I was expecting them to bring the coffee. Yeah. So when I went to them, they told me, oh, we sold the coffee, it wasn't enough. Why did you sell it? Oh, because we had a debt for the other mill the other year, so you wait for yours this year. So they gave one excuse after the other. We also did seedlings to give to farmers, with the view that when the coffee is ready, they would give the coffee to us, and we deduct the cost of the seedlings. When the coffee was ready and it was time for them to bring the coffee to us, they again took it to other mills. And obviously we cannot go and pick the coffee from their farm. So it was a rude awakening to me that you really cannot rely on some of the contracts that you've written with the farmers. So we let that one go. And we've progressed now. So we give coffee seedlings, knowing that we shall not get it back. So they go with it. And they come back now out of their own accord.
So what was the change? What was the thing that flipped now your understanding of the coffee, and so deciding now, okay, so this is now going to be the best plan on how to move this forward?
Yeah, I think what changed, what I realized, one thing is you can never rely on cooperatives, you cannot rely on small-scale farmers. The best thing is to have your own nucleus farm. For example, once we have up to 400 acres, which we are aiming, probably by next year we shall have the 400 acres of coffee. I am able to go and sign a contract in the UK, in Korea, in anywhere, knowing that I will deliver that coffee, the 400 acres coffee at certain quality. So I can write a 5-year contract with that company, telling them, you know, I'll supply you this quality of coffee for the next 5 years. They've come to me. In fact, I can show you, this morning somebody came and told me, can you supply us coffee? I asked them, how much do you want? They said this. I told them, I can't, because I'm not able to supply you that quantity. Because it is important to be honest than to be dishonest. Because most people here have fallen short of that, because they go to Sweden. I saw another company, they went to Sweden, they told them, we can supply you these containers of amount of coffee, so many tons of coffee, only to find that they cannot get it, and you become dishonest. So what I've decided to do is concentrate on our estate. We've got a few large-scale farmers as well who are coming in, so that we have up to 1,000, 2,000 acres, so that we work as a team now, and use the same milling factory I have to mill and sell it. So we are consistent and all that. So that is what I learned. One of the reasons why I came to Kenya to do coffee is because of the quality and of the coffee we have in Kenya. I think most Kenyans don't realize what we have, and they don't take coffee seriously. During the first Kenyatta 1, the older people will tell you about Chepkube. They will tell you how coffee propelled Kenya economically to where it was. Even now, if we took our coffee seriously, we can make a lot of money. Coffee production in Kenya has fallen down from 140,000 tons to 40,000 tons.
Yeah.
And recently you had people chopping the coffee in Central. And that is really because nobody has focused on coffee as a cash crop. 2 years ago, I went to Korea. As soon as I came out of the aeroplane, in the airport, you see there, we are serving Kenya coffee. You go everywhere, it's Kenya coffee. One of the reasons why Kenya coffee is where it is because of the history we have. The volcanic soil we have gives it that acidic floral taste, which is unique to Kenya. In fact, you see, coffee is graded in different ways. You have Robusta coffee, you have Arabica, you have different things, and you have various Blue Mountain, SL 20-something, and all those. They are different grades. Actually, there was a debate on whether we should make Kenya coffee its own grade.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody has taken seriously.
I think we should.
They should.
Yeah.
But you see, this is an international thing now, which the government should be pushing.
Yeah.
But it was left and still put under Arabica. But actually it should be Arabica and SAP, which should be Kenyan. Kenya has a space in coffee. It has. And we have a jewel which we are not looking care of. You don't have to depend on the government. You have to plant cash crops. So we put the first mill in Nandi. And as I speak now, Nandi is one of the fastest growing areas, coffee growing areas in the country.
How much tonnage are we talking about for that you mill?
Sorry, what do you say?
How much?
We do a lot, up to 20 tons per hour.
Wow.
The mill is big, but the coffee is not there.
So we need to find new coffee.
We need to find.
Yeah.
So the thing is this, so we've invested so heavily on the coffee. That is coming to that. Now, what I want to do in my farm myself, as a farmer, as a coffee farmer, is I want to do from farm to cup.
Right.
And that's what we are selling as a narrative. You should be able to come to our farm. You should be able to go around it. You should be able to come and cycle. If you want to sleep in the farm, we've got somewhere you can sleep for the weekend. If you want to pick coffee, you can pick coffee.
Yeah.
And we do process everything. We want to be open. We want to do a green coffee. We want to get all the certification. So that is an experience through it. And that is what we are doing. And we are spreading the word around, and it's succeeding. I was in the UK for 25 years. Not even one single time did I see a roadshow on Kenya coffee. We have embassies. They should be doing this. We should produce the coffee, and the government should take it from there and do the roadshow in Korea, in Germany, in the UK, in the US. So once we produce, that should be done. We are lucky in a way in Kenya, which is unique in terms of coffee. Coffee in Kenya is traceable. We can trace it to your farm. We can trace the coffee to you. In Uganda and other countries, it's like maize. You see here, once you plant the maize and you've done it, anybody can come and buy and go. Yeah. In Kenya, you can't. We have to trace that coffee. So when you have a coffee farm, you get a number from the coffee board. They give you a number. And they know that number, that coffee has come from your farm, from somebody's farm, from the other farm, and the other farm. Now, when that farm takes the coffee to a mill, like our mill now, Great Rift Coffee, we have a code. And when that thing goes to the auction, Nairobi Coffee Exchange, it gets another code. So when I buy coffee, I can trace it. This coffee was from the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. It came from this mill, and from this mill, it came to this farm. That gives it the quality. And that way, we are able to actually trace the quality of that coffee and improve it. We know this coffee is good. We are able to find out, this farmer here, why is this coffee good? At an instant, because we cap it.
Yeah.
So from that, we are able to interview the farmer. What did you do to make your coffee good? And then with that, we're able to go to the other coffee farmer whose coffee is bad and tell him, can you change it to this way? When I talk of being Kenyanized, we need to think, we need to have a broad picture of where we are going as Kenyans. We need to Kenyanize our thinking. It's shocking, this time and age. There's a big project being advertised in Kenya, and they say there, okay, this is they give things. What do you call them? Pre-qualification requirements. This and this and this and this and this. You find that there's a young Kenyan company here. It actually does 70%. It meets 70% of the requirements. There's a big company, Samsung, Sony, all the others. They will meet them. Okay, what do? Do we give it to them? For how long? What happens to the other Kenyan company who has got 70? It will never grow. And this is what, when I talk of Kenyanizing the thinking, so we need to completely change our way of thinking. If somebody has 70% qualification, this person should become the lead. This Kenyan company should become the lead. The other company from Korea, from China, from the other, should take the 30% and help this guy to be 100. In 5 years, we don't need that Chinese, that Korean, that French, that company. This Kenyan company now starts bidding. In another 10 years, we push this company to go to another country to bid.
Do you think that's a view that most of us have not had it because our politics and our businesses have prioritized others first?
Yes.
And we've not had a national conversation in a sense and say, look, there is something that is Kenyan and this is how it should look, and would give priority to Kenyans. We would think about how to improve the Kenyan companies, and like you say, where we have differences, we figure out how to fix it. From expertise that we definitely need from other places,
yes,
we definitely get it.
Yes.
But we start with the Kenyan one first.
Correct. As I said before, there's time for everything. We were colonized for a very long time. And then our forefathers and our fathers reached a time when they realized, oh, no, this cannot continue. So they fought for independence. Right. And we've got to realize also at independence, we were shortchanged. We didn't have enough manpower to come in. And our President Kenyatta was very wise. He kept them. He told them, you stay, build the nation. And they did. As they were building the nation, we realized we need to go to school, we need to educate ourselves, and we came up. And what I believe myself, we had no choice, but the economy of Kenya had to dip down because we were relying on other people. We did not have the manpower to move Kenya to higher heights because we were not educated. We went to school after Kenyatta took power in the 1960s, 63. So we went through the education, the English people were there. They might not have been as qualified as we think because being a white man, you got a position anyway. So they ran the economy, it went down because we did not have the manpower. But as we speak now, Kenya has invested heavily in education, in manpower, in everything. So there's nothing to hold us back. We are taking up that flight and it's not coming back. And that's why I believe this is the right time to come home and invest. How many people of us have gone to the UK, to the US to study everywhere? There are so many. How many universities do we have? If you tell people today, I want people with a master's in IT, there'll be lots. There'll be lots. If you want engineers, if you want doctors, there's lots of them. So if we have to think to Kenyanize. We have to pay our taxes. We have to look inwards. We have to make sure that everything we are doing, Kenya has to come first.
Where do you think you'll be investing in the next, 6 months, 2 years, if I sit with you again?
I'd say that in another 6 months, if you came to me, probably I will have invested in ICT. And mostly, one of them is the data center, which I personally feel is a good thing because I've been following it up. Another one is Starlink. Because I'm interested in the ICT, because I know what it did to my company, I think I will invest in Starlink. I don't think Kenyans are aware, but the majority are not yet aware of the effects that will have in Kenya. They are aware that the government is rolling out 100,000 kilometers of fiber. That is good. But if you go to a rural area, in Mount Kenya, rural area in Western, rural area in Kwale, in Kilifi, in Lamu, the ruralist area, you cannot just, it is so expensive to send that fiber there. And that's why we've not achieved it.
Right.
Now, what Starlink has done is they've got orbited satellites very near the Earth. So it means the data can go and come up, down. I think people need to look at that. So it is quite easy to have satellites in rural areas, in West Pokot, in other places. And I was talking to KWS. KWS has set up 2 in their national parks, remote areas. And it is so efficient that you don't need to run the fiber. So with these satellites, these devices, Starlink devices in the remote areas, one, the government can actually roll out this digital program very easily because then you don't have to roll fiber. It means you can do everything digital, even at the rural areas. The police are able to report things. The hospital there can be digitalized. The security can be enforced. KWS can collect the revenue. Even at the sea, the Kenya Navy, the police can have security enforced where there was no fiber. So to me, I think that's the next big thing. And I think I'll invest in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Final thoughts? Have you forgotten anything?
I don't know. I just want to say thank you for this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it went well.
Yeah.
Yes.